And we're live. This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show is latenightparents.com. And I am here with True S Armor. What's the S stand for? It stands for, this is your opportunity to say, from Man of Steel, when you say it stands for hope.
Yeah.
You remember that part?
The American way.
Man of Steel?
Yeah. No, I remember that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It stands for the American way.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Exactly.
Dude, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's a Friday. It's late. As you know, in pre-pro, we were just sitting talking.
Follow me on YouTube, True S Armor. Follow me on Twitter.
Oh, so you changed your YouTube handle?
Yeah, True S Armor, because there's another.
All right.
Out there someplace. Other media, it's True Armor as well.
So on YouTube, you're True S Armor.
True S Armor on YouTube, True Armor on Twitter.
So no underscore anymore.
I want all the likes and all the love.
So no underscore anymore?
I'm sorry?
No underscore anymore?
No, I don't think underscores matter anymore, quite frankly. I mean, some people have them in their thing, but if you just Google True S Armor, I would come up with underscore or not, just because we're so boxed in.
Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that because...
Yes, please, leave it at that. Don't get me started on the government.
Okay. Well, I mean, Twitter is Twitter. You want to make sure you get your handle correct.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I never look up my handle, so I always have to...
What do you mean you never look up your handle? Come on.
Well, it's True underscore Armor, but when I hit the phone, it just goes to it. So I never look at... I look at other people's names and handles.
So
every now and then I have to be like...
That's True S Armor.
Right. How often do you call yourself your full name? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things.
Oh, God. You got me editing this stuff on the fly. You're True underscore Armor.
Yes, True underscore Armor on Twitter. Please follow me. I want all the followers and all the likes.
Yeah, but...
I want to be king of Twitter. Is that a thing?
Oh, God. You got me editing. All right.
King of Twitter. Somebody ought to take that handle. That's a pretty good handle.
That's Don Lemon. He's the Twitter king.
No, he's Lemonade.
Come on.
How is he the Twitter king when Trump tweets from the John at like 3 a.m, while Don Lemon is, passed out from like his Shirley Temples or whatever. Yeah, dude, I think I would put several other
I am going to send him this piece right here so he can blow you up with his 5 million followers or however many followers he has.
Here's the thing. I'm building my contingent.
Let me tell you, this week,
one man by one man by one podcast, and this is what I know about America. How many of us are there? There's like 340 million of us.
Mm-hmm.
5 million is a nice number, but it's not a plurality, right? So who knows, man?
I don't even know where you're going with this. I'm
saying 5 million people is impressive, but he's regularly on television.
You said the Twitter
regularly king. Wrong. So
I don't know if you watch his show or not. If you like to watch his show or not, he's been on fire lately. I mean, it's like activist / journalist.
But you're not supposed to be that though, right? You're supposed to tell the people the truth and leave it at that.
Dude, he's been on fire.
If he's running and okay, all right. I'm just saying why we're off the rails.
Watch it. Watch the first 5 minutes of the show. No matter what you think of him, turn to his first 5 minutes of the show.
But I've seen the what's the word I'm looking for? I've seen the fight before. It's the same fight. Tucker Carlson is doing the same thing over at Fox. So I mean, it's partisan nonsense. I want righteous people to solve the problem, and all I'm getting is being offered to side in each one of these kind of like bad parties, quite frankly.
But it's not just that. He's challenging people all over the place. I've seen him this week alone.
Yeah, but this is what people do in the liberal pocket, right? Everybody gets challenged, but nobody's. It's like no one's going to smack you in the mouth, and you can talk crap to everybody. The 12-foot tall guy, if you wanna. That's the liberal side. The Republican side, this conservative side is stay in pocket, or you will get squashed.
What do you consider yourself? Are you?
I consider myself a free operative. I consider myself one of these guys who I look at the world in a very kind of plain and simple way, right?
Okay.
So in my when I like 5 years ago, I started doing this. In my mind, I'm always walking across, just like in science fiction movies, right? Like a plane with like whatever I have on my back and a stick, right? Like a walking stick. And I'm always meeting maybe a group of 30 guys, right? That's a lot of people. And before I approach them, I want to know what they're about. And I think this is what I think the Democratic Party is, I'd be walking into them and like, I would say they're all about, I was about to say fealty, but they're all about this idea that we all get along and all 30 of us have 30 different opinions, but we all somehow agree through votes, right? And nothing ever gets done. And I feel like if I had walked up on 30 conservatives, there'd be one guy in charge, right? He'd be super religious, super Christian. He might be racist. He might not be, but he might be, I was about to say super liberal. But in all these cases, he sends a message to these people. They sort of move as one.
Or she.
And when I think about the Republicans and the Democrats.
Or she.
I think well, yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Or she. I'll give you that. But like, again, in this sci-fi realm, he, she, right? So it's perfectly fine. But in the real world, I think in the liberal pocket, actually, you just updated my whole like deal. In the liberal pocket, I would say that you would get more diverse opinions because it'd be 30 groups of 5 each of different people, Black and Spanish and Asian and like a women's contingent, versus no matter what you are on the other side, one guy and his aides kind of like set up the dictum for what everyone believes. And we're just kind of like perpetually squabbling about it. And I don't like either way either one of those work. Neither of those work for me. And I've been politically active for a long time.
So you're independent is what you're saying.
I wouldn't even say that because the Indian people are ridiculous. I mean, where can I go to walk into the headquarters?
So wait.
There's no... Whoa.
So you're not happy with the left? You're not happy with the right? You're not happy with the centrist?
Where's the independent headquarters? Because I've looked it up when I lived in New York anyway. I wanted to go down there. I looked it up. So a lot of these places exist in this nebulous space of where, and they've gotten really popular over the last 30 years. But
because people see both of these sides don't do anything. They can't agree on anything.
Yeah.
But you're like, this is a waste.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. Every day they lose more and more support, right? And then eventually the American military is going to have to take over this place because they're the only ones not taking money from the freaking Chinese, right? Otherwise, it's just going to be bedlam.
So listen,
ruled by division.
If you got 350
parties, then it'll be 200 like little factions of these parties. I mean,
listen, you got 350 people. You got barely 120 million that vote. So you're already at a third.
Right. People have they've made it impossible to vote. They made it easy for the people that they know who will vote for them to vote, and they made it really hard for people who disagree with them to vote.
Just like presidential elections, we only get 120 million
for them to lose elections.
During presidential elections, that's usually when we get the highest turnout, which makes really no sense. Makes no sense because your local, your city, your state politics
But that's tactical. No, but that's tactical political thinking. The average person isn't doing that. The American presidential election that rolls around once every 4 years is a happening. People want to be part of it. So yeah, even though people say this is crap, more people come out for that. It's the one office that we all vote for nationally. It's the one office. Everyone else is either voting for a state election or a state representative to represent them to represent them nationally, right? So your senator is your senator. I don't care about the New York senator, and he doesn't care about me. Your congressmen are your congress, but the president is everybody's guy. So it's a happening. It's a happening.
But how is it happening? But how is it happening if only a third of our population is voting?
Well, that's not on the population. That's on the politicians. Like I said, they've made it harder for people to vote. They've always mucked with the vote. We're Black Americans. We know this well.
But we've always had around about that number. So tell me how that if 1/3 of the overall number.
I'm telling you, man, that these people have always mucked with the vote.
Okay.
When they were against you, and once they got in office, they enabled the system where the incumbent is the favorite because they rigged how they can pull any people off polls and ballots and get them removed from this district and all this when they're in power because they have the power of the incumbency. So
So are you talking about gerrymandering?
Yeah, they've done. Yeah, but it's not just that's just one of the things they do. It's like Black Lives Matter, right? So people, this whole shooting thing went from criminal justice reform to police reform to Black Lives Matter versus against police reform. That's the narrative that they stuck with. When it's always been about criminal justice reform. Criminal justice reform is beyond the police, right? Criminal justice reform is these judges and their wild behavior. These prosecutors who lie and like the Super Park Five and that woman, right? She put children in prison.
Exonerated five.
Right. So this immunity, this blanket immunity goes to the cops. It goes to all the problem people, the cops, the prosecutors, the inept counsel for the accused, and these judges who say the wildest shit, who run that little room like it's their own kingdom. It's wild what judges have done, and you need to tone. And they don't want to tone all this down because they are the first.
We were doing good.
Hold on.
We were doing let me say what I want to say. We were doing great for 13 minutes.
Oh no, but
we were doing great for 13. No, you're not listening. You're not listening. Just stop for a second. We were doing great for 13 minutes. We were heading.
We're doing great now.
No, we were heading
with your assessment. But go ahead.
Well, if you don't let me tell you, then you won't understand where I'm coming from. We were doing great for 13 full minutes before you dropped the expletive because we were heading to community radio. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I drop an expletive? I didn't mean to drop an expletive, but my whole point is I forgot where I was running to with this. Look, my all right.
No, it's you. Go ahead.
No, I let's start a new conversation.
No. You were going. No, you were going talking about with Black Lives Matter, and you were talking about how basically the goalpost has been moved,
right,
on what's needed. You know,
it's criminal justice reform essentially. It's not just police reform. And don't choke me out. Don't kneel on my neck. Who doesn't know that? Why is that even up to debate?
It's also racial justice.
All the other stuff. And if you want to be wider, it's social justice reform. It's the idea that the banks can't fuck with you. But the banks aren't killing you in the street like the judges are allowing people to do. So the first place you want is criminal justice reform, and no one's getting that. It's like these murals. The first one put down was sort of an act of rebellion, which I totally support. The last one put down by the mayor of New York was this coordinated photo op, quite frankly, with him and his wife and some kids and some other elected officials doing a couple of strokes on the street in front of Trump's house. It was a total political event of a politician that you hate. It's why they want his tax returns, right? But they've totally dropped anything about Hillary Clinton and her wild behavior. If you want the truth, you want the truth. And nobody wants the truth. Everybody wants to win. So, yeah, you can see how it started here. It started here, and then it slowly got kind of like repurposed and shifted. I mean, everything everybody's talking about isn't the law. Everybody's talking about, look, the next mayor comes in, we'll give them the money back to all these police stations, and then go back to buying giant trucks, MRAPs, and all that stuff. They didn't make it the law. What's the law that they made where someone can't kill your kid so you can stop having these conversations? What did they change?
Listen.
Don't get me started. So yeah, anyway.
No, you can't get started. You can't get started because let me tell you, you were correct. It was a photo op.
I don't get a lot of those. Wait, I want a round of applause for me. Thank you. All right,
you've been right on a few occasions. But I will tell you, like I said, a few.
Right.
What's her name? De Blasio's wife is getting ready to run for Brooklyn Borough president. That's what this is. So I don't know what if you ask them. If you ask them, Charlene McClain is getting ready to run for Brooklyn Borough president. So in their books, this is sweat equity, where they could say, "Hey, we painted Black Lives Matter in front of Trump Tower.
Yeah, we did. Look at this gesture we made. This empty gesture. This grand empty gesture.
Black Lives Matter is painted in 38 states right now.
Yeah,
across America.
And the next time someone else is voted in, they'll just paint over them. And if they're nice enough not to paint over them, eventually car traffic will wash them away with the rain and other. It's empty gestures. So what?
What concerns me is not things that get painted in the streets. It's laws that are getting.
Thank you.
Paid.
Thank you.
And the fact that within 3 years, my son is going to be behind the wheel.
Right.
So that's what it comes down to. My son's going to be behind the wheel in 3 years, driving, and the fact that I've already had that conversation with him, to me is making a change. You've got to make something that's solid. That's a law.
Yeah.
And they
don't want to do that.
Versus this specific gesture, because as this is happening, people are painting Black Lives Matter all throughout the streets of
selling T-shirts and
our 50 states.
Moving albums.
People are still who are peaceful protesting are still. When it's time for the police to say, "Okay, shut it down," still being manhandled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So let's call a spade a spade. So
hey, that language.
We've just got to be mindful of the things.
But when have we, Black Americans, not been mindful? What I like is I've been following the new thing, which is 2 weeks ago was transgender lives matter. That's another way to co-opt the idea of Black Lives Matter. If we're talking about Black lives, we're talking about each and every one of us. I don't care if you're gay or straight or old or young. But once you begin to parse it like that, then you begin to raise money on it. So now the next thing that we see is what did I see a couple of days ago? Oh my God, I hate when my brain throws something like this.
Brown lives matter. It's
But here's the thing: it's not even brown lives. It's this weird idea of it's not colored people. What is it? People of color, which I hate this term for two reasons. One, our issue is not other people's issue. Don't put us all in the box like we're a grocery bag. That's one reason why I hate it. The second reason why I hate it, the first people to call the cops on you, like George Floyd, the guy who called the cops on him was an immigrant guy, right? They're the first people who the cops are unfair to me too, but they're also the first people who will call the cops on us. They're sort of steeped in it. When it comes to man,
I don't know.
We've got our own issues among other minorities, and we shouldn't act like everybody gets along well, and it's only white people. Because if it is that, then white people are the problem. Period. All time and forever, and the world would be a better place without white people. But you can't say that, right? You can't say that.
But that's not the case. I think
there's bad actors
everywhere
because they are bad actors in all groups. So I had some issues with racist Asian people and racist Pakistani people when I lived in New York, right? But they're lumped into this bag where I'm lumped into as people of color all want the same thing. So come and be Democrats. And when I go, you know what? They treat me badly. It's like, no, we don't want any in-house fighting. And nothing ever changes. You know what? Don't tell me who to vote for. Don't tell me I'm not black if I don't vote for you. The situation has gotten so phenomenally sort of goofy that, you know, woke is one of those words that was big in the 60s. I was raised on it. And that's another thing they changed. Now, if you're woke, they treat you like being like a soccer mom and just kind of like, but woke means don't be fooled by like these games. Keep your eyes open. And it'll hit you from any angle at any time in your life. So the place is unfair and just expect it. But now the idea of woke is sort of like a fake social justice warrior. Like all the problems don't actually exist. And you're just saying this stuff to be dramatic, right? If you've been complaining about the cops, you were woke then and you're woke now. If people are just coming around to like all these agencies going, well, maybe we have been unfair. You know, they're waking up. They weren't woke then, but they can easily go back to sleep. So this is why you have to be diligent.
No, so, I think
the Black Lives Matter movement, God bless them, but I really hope that they get some laws changed and it stops being about.
I think they will.
Who you want me to vote for?
I think they will. I don't know. Let's not conflate the two. Black Lives Matter does not tell you who to vote for.
Right. But you know, the idea that. Well, wait, haven't they? Okay, maybe they don't. Maybe they haven't fully endorsed somebody. But like the idea is essentially, if I was like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, I'm a Republican, I think people lose their mind.
Whether you're Republican or Democrat, that's up to you.
I think all the people embracing it and moving it for votes are Democrats, quite frankly. You know, while the other party who's trying to hate on it for votes are more conservative. But my whole thing is, and I've been telling this to people for 20 years as an ex-cop, you know, it's an arrogant bully issue, right? Yeah, there's some racism in it, but there's also a lot of sexism in it. Women get treated. Sandra Bland, like she got both of those things. She got the sexism and the racism, and that guy walked, right? They disrespect Spanish women and Mexican women. When I say Spanish, I'm thinking New York, so I guess I'm more thinking Puerto Rican and Dominican women. But like across the board, these bullies of women, right? These haters of. I once worked with a guy who pulled over a guy. I didn't know why we pulled him over. It was a really nice Porsche, and there was this guy in a suit. He asked me, I was brand new, and it was just kind of like.
So did you check your partner?
Guy.
Did you check your partner?
He was the guy I was assigned with for the day.
So did you check him?
No, because I was brand new. I was brand new, and we're supposed to be going from point A to point B, and from point A to point B, he pulled somebody over in between that. And the only reason he let them go was because the guy turned out to be a lawyer. And that's another thing, people. Lawyers have this magic, like D&D aura about them, where cops will not mess with them. Yeah,
well,
you would
because
have to,
they know their rights.
Fist fight or
they know their rights,
and they also know 1,000 ways to screw you over because they play in this game.
I don't know what the percentage
of taken away from you.
I don't know what the percentage. I don't know what the percentage of people don't know their rights.
I would say a lot.
You know,
I would say a lot.
I would say I can't tell you. I can't tell you how many people don't know the amendments.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of
It's certain things you need to know.
Yeah, but
If
people forget
if
them.
it's gonna benefit you,
Right. But who
you
does that?
know, well, who does that? It's
Education
just
benefits you, and that's a hard pressed thing to get people to do. But you know why people aren't hyper educated? Because they sent the bill through the roof. If the bill was like it was in the
people are
50s when
drones.
education was free, yes, when in
People
New
are
York,
drones is the
the
problem.
CUNY system was free in the 50s. More people would be educated. They they
CUNY is the best
they
system.
weaponize everything in America. Everything is weaponized. The education system will steep you in debt. You know, the medical system will steep you in debt.
I don't know if everything is weaponized. I don't know if the
Everything.
education.
The
I don't
education system
know.
is not a no. The education system is not about educating you. It is not. It's not even about educating the rich kids. They get by on legacy and nonsense. Those are just
So
as
a
stupid.
public university, you go
Yeah.
there for the year. It's
Mm-hmm.
maximum what, $8,000, six thousand
Right.
dollars
Right.
for a year for
Right. And if you're in state, it's 1,200, maybe 1,500.
right.
It should be approachable, and it's not
It,
anymore. The more stupid people you have in the country, the more you can control the herd, and
well,
that's what they
it's
did. You wipe
if you
out
look at
your adversary and your challengers.
but if you look at the debt and school debt, which becomes a topic every year, is because people choose to go to private institutions and not public. That's their choice.
You have a private institutions, like we had the conversation before. The college system now in America is weaponized. It's business. Their business is education, but they want to
Yes.
steep you in debt and screw you over. Yale has a $4 billion endowment, and they're mucking people over with this money. You know,
Listen,
it's a game of greed, and look how
it's your
important I am.
choice.
We're talking
It's
over each
your
other.
choice. If you
Yeah,
want to
well, yes,
go,
obviously it's your choice, but the
so
point
go
that
to a
it's your
public
choice.
institution.
Oh my God. No,
Go to a
yes,
public institution, and it's next to nothing. It's
look, listen.
affordable.
The paradigm is broken. You understand that? Yeah, the paradigm is broken. First of all these people only go to the same 7 schools, which is Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Johns Hopkins, Columbia. I mean, there's like 7 of them. They all
And
end
of
up
the
going there,
7,
and they go there to meet and make these connections.
and
And
of the
they
7,
go,
how many
on
that you named
connections and
are
not.
public?
All right, wait. Okay.
How many are public?
Look. This is the point. The point is that you go to a private school because you want to, and you make all this money. Granted, the few who end up making it all back and making these connections, generally, you just end up in debt, paying it off for 20 years, right? If your idea is education, and it isn't in America, the society, the random populace would know more than it does. It wouldn't be so easy to con and so easy to push to hatred of people. What's going on here is the rich pay for their kids to go to college, their kids get passes. These famous athletes who go to college on passes and get out of the poverty don't really go to class. They just graduate with a degree. And then there's this bubble of rich people doing, I guess, social influencing to keep a broken system up and running. You know what I mean? None of this is working. A lot, like I said before on your show, you think every truck driver, every waitress wanted to be a truck driver and a waitress? You know, some people wanted to go to college but couldn't make it. Some people were really intelligent but couldn't get the money. Why? Some rich people don't pay their taxes. When this whole thing breaks, they're going to want it to be something stupid like a race war. Because then they can sit up here and claim, well, this is just the evil sins of bad people versus a class war, which is all of us down here, black, white, Catholic, Christian, Jew, and other, are sick of you people all from the same stratus. If I see another Kennedy run for office, I'm a freaking lose my mind.
Okay, so wait, stop. Because
hold on, I know I'm about to stop. I'm about to wrap it up. But it's this idea that the bad planning and the con that's been running so long has been exposed since the internet happened. We know how people kind of play these games, right? Just like we know how, like Hitler con his country, because since it happened, a lot of people have looked at what he said and when and pushing lies and all this stuff. So now people know these dirty tricks and they see you still pushing them. And in a society where everybody has to stay home, 50 million people are unemployed, and you're still playing stupid con games about, look, Donald Trump's friggin' tax return is a dead issue. Right. So what? That's about you and your party against Donald Trump and his party. Meanwhile,
we got to go to the next time. We got to hit the topics.
People need some real change, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Before we hit the topic, I don't know where you were going, but I don't know where you were going with that, because I still go back to there's a price difference, there's a cost difference in public versus private. It's day and night.
There is a cost difference, but my thing is
day and night.
My thing is, remember that old movie? I've been quoting Pretty Woman a lot. Pretty Woman is, I bought it. You know what I took from Pretty Woman? Everyone else thought it was a lovely romance about a billionaire raider and a prostitute. Oh, I'm sorry, call girl. This is my thing. That movie was simply about there was this phenomenon in the 80s where you would take something perfectly good and you would strip it for its parts because it was worth more. And I think that idea is still prevalent in American society. You took education system that was free, that you should have expanded, maybe have made people pay a little more for it, and you made it this thing that is so out of touch for the common man, while you glorify it so more people can run to it and get swept up into this debt mire that you've got going. People want a better day, not just for the wealthy on their social Instagrams, right? And I think that this is what America has become. It raids stuff. It ruins good things to flush it for money. And when it dies, it leaves it in a husk. So, I mean, we're in this place where, like I said, everybody's home and people are frustrated and people want answers. And all you have is typical political warfare with each other, typical racial baiting with each other. I mean,
dude, did you see this week's episode of the Red Table Talk? Wait, is it Red Table Talk? Is Red Talk Table? Red Table Talk. Dude, I don't even know what I was watching. I have no idea. I have no idea. Who's that? I have no idea what I was watching. Listen, we're going to table the other conversation.
All right.
Because I still think we need to address, because what I'm going to do is pull up, we'll take 1 year and we'll pull up going to a private institution versus a public institution.
I know, but look.
And I just want to we'll do that on our next talk. That'll be topic number one.
It's the same as private libraries versus public libraries. But okay.
Yeah, it's just something. One is obtainable, where you won't be bleeding through your nose, and the other one is
bleeding through your nose.
Yeah, where you're bleeding through your nose. Basically, yeah, you won't get punched in your nose where you're like.
Okay. You're talking about right. Okay. So
one
better people in the Ivy League schools.
Yeah, of course. Everyone wants Ivy League. People want that, but if you're chasing that degree, and if there are no jobs out there, then what?
Right.
But
right.
Want to talk Red Table Talk?
Yeah.
I've never really seen the show. I would see clips here and there. Right. I don't log into Facebook too often.
Right. I haven't done it in like 6 months.
But I tell you, today it spilled over into my Twitter account. And I was seeing, like, when I opened it, I was like, what is this? What is all of this? So I clicked and I watched a 12-minute episode. It was like the car crash. And, it was kind of like, it was made for TV. It's made for their production companies because the previous week, they showed maybe like the last 5 seconds where she teased that she was going to the red table. So
okay, so
usually
explain to me the
she's
philosophy.
usually.
Explain to me and the rest of your listeners the philosophy of the red table for those who aren't.
I don't know. It's Jada
For those who
Pinkett
aren't
Smith. She sits there and interviews people, and sometimes she
at
has a
this red
mother
table.
and her daughter at some red table,
Oh, okay.
and
So the red table is a hot spot. It's like the hot chair.
yeah, I guess it's like her hot chair. That's her talk
Right.
show,
The red
which she
table.
does
All right.
exclusively on Facebook Watch.
Right.
So I think great idea, ingenious. Big props to her for doing something like that. But what I will say is she was kind of like interviewing herself today because, from the drama that she had some type of affair or whatever the case is. And today she admitted, so it was her and it was Will Smith at the red table.
Yeesh.
It was the both of them. They were at the red table.
You're getting jiggy with it.
He didn't look happy.
No, he didn't.
She was, I think she was at peace. It just seemed weird. It seemed like awkward.
She was at peace?
She seemed like she was at peace. She seemed like she was at peace.
I have been to a lot of parties as an adult, and I have seen people sort of goad people, and you know that there's something else going on here.
Oh, of course.
Could have been some of that.
Of course.
But
I don't think
about it because I didn't see it, so I guess
I don't think it was. I seriously don't think this was like made for TV. I think it was something that really happened in their in their household,
because there's a third party involved saying that it happened, and it wouldn't be out if he hadn't brought it out, right? So this is more damage control than anything.
And what's for me from outside looking in is they were kind of like co-signing each other, and I was sitting there like I said, like what in the world?
You're married, so you got.
What am I watching? What am I watching here? This is like a train wreck that happened already, and they're like, "Oh no, everyone's okay. We're all good." And and from what I'm understanding, the young man had like some type of mental illness.
Yeah.
Some physical and mental illness.
Yeah.
And he was like her son's age.
Yeah. That three. Three major problems. First of all, I have disdain for women who slide into bed with boys that they knew as children. Utter disdain. There's a billion people, and I think women should have the same disdain for like men who do the same, and I think all do. But people play this game with these famous people. First of all, they're supposed to have an open relationship, right? So, as someone who I don't have a problem with your open relationship, but
do they?
You can cheat in an open relationship. Right. If he did not know.
Did they have one
or 1,000 times in open media that they have an open relationship?
I don't really follow them.
I don't follow them either, man. You make me sound like a teenage girl. Look,
I don't know if they had an open relationship.
Years, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but all your listeners and all my listeners, all 9 of them, should go investigate, right? So don't take our word for it. Go see if Will Smith and Jada Pinkett ever said they had an open relationship out there on the Google, as the kids say. But I think they did. And my whole thing about this, because again, I'm from like a liberal kind of leaning environment in New York, which is one of the more liberal places. So I'm not.
Yeah, but in segment 1, you surely didn't sound liberal. You sounded.
Here's my thing. So, if I'm in an open relationship with girl A, and I go, oh man, I like the barista down at the Starbucks. I'm gonna ask her out and see if she want to hang out, see what she want to do. I'm gonna go ask that girl out. You're now, you're aware, so it's not really cheating. But it seemed to me like, if you go hang out with the girl, the barista, in your open relationship, and the other person don't know, then it's cheating, right? It's not open. It's cheating. right? Cheating is you having an affair with someone that your partner does not know about. So, what is she on blast for? If she's got an open relationship, why does she need to? First of all, why does she need to explain to us? Because it's damage control. First of all,
because it
why
went
is she
public.
there?
It
Because
was
she's
it
probably
wasn't
like,
supposed to go public.
I bet you him, his manager, his publicist, his agent was like, Will, don't do this. This is bad. But you know who overrules all those people? Your
The
wife.
wife.
I
The
need
wife.
you to do this. Yeah. So yeah, it seems to me like it was damage control, and maybe her people told her too. This is a bad idea, Jada. And she was like, "Don't tell me what to do. I got this."
Well, she said
Will is right
she
behind
likes.
me. Will is like, ugh.
She said she likes to help people.
No, I'm sure.
She said she likes to
I need
help
some
people.
help. Slide on over here and help me with these nuts.
Come on.
I like to help people.
Oh,
My
she
God.
said she likes to help people.
I like to help people.
I'm like, what in the world am I watching? It was like, for me,
you know, you can help people without sleeping with them. What are you, Harvey Weinstein?
Weird part. I don't want to be in the inner workings of your marriage and or know about it.
It's just ridiculous.
You know,
it really is.
That's like, I don't know. That's
Harvey Weinstein nonsense. It sounds like she preyed on a
that's kind of
mentally
like
ill person, doesn't it?
In my own marriage,
it sounds like she preyed on a.
That's like if I like to attend football games. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we have a sound slip. Do we have a?
Hold on.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. So
wait, hang on one second. Let me go back into the audio. And I was putzing around with my earbuds. Oh, that was me.
Yep.
Hang on one second.
I need to shave. Oh, sweet jeez, I'm gonna have to shave my girl early.
Having a little technical difficulty here. Okay, let me put these things in here.
I can sing Kumbaya if you want me to.
So let's say, so I've been married, dude, 21 years, right? I like to go to football games. I like to go to baseball games. Some local, some, states away, a few states away, depends on the competition and everything else like that.
Right.
That's something the missus knows about because that's something I've been doing for 20 plus years. Okay.
Right.
But for me,
he met you as a sports guy,
right? But for me to explain that to the world, number one, it's none of their business.
Yeah, but I
don't think.
Would you have to explain being a sports fan? I think. Look, listen.
No, but I'm just using that as an example.
Right, but I think the example have to at least be in the ballpark of the what's the word I'm looking for? I was about to say of the example, but that's not. The example can't be. Yeah. Anyway, it has to be in the ballpark of. There's got to be equivalency, right? So, sex is different.
Okay.
Right? So, for all you know, Will Smith likes to have sex twice a year. Some people have, and Jada likes it 3 times a day and likes it hard, or vice versa, right? Some people are, mentally driven, right? I have talked women I should not have even said hello to into bed because of good conversation, right? Couldn't keep them, but got them there. And there's a lot of that going on, just as well as, I went to clubs and charmed people and danced with women. this is the stupid giant pot of whatever the hell is out there as you learn, you know, your path in this life of like dating, sex and sexuality. Well, not really sexuality. My sexuality has always been the same, so maybe it's not sexuality, but dating and how you talk to people to get people where, and what people. I don't want to be sinister, but to be sinister, I would say what people need for you to access them versus, but what I really want to say is what people like and what you have a connection to bond with people, right? But both of those, I hate to say it, are valid in this sphere that we're dealing in. The sinister way of connection, as well as this beautiful, ethereal, real way of connecting, right? So, I mean, this is the giant pot that we're all in. Everybody wants to be desirable, right? Everybody wants to. I think that's fair to say. I want people to like me socially and sexually, right? I want to be desired and desirable. Maybe not by everybody, but I want people to go, oh man, that's a cool dude, whether I'm 19 or whether I'm 60. Man, you said that dude with the gray hair though? Man, he is awesome. He's the mayor of the block. Remember that? Like, so, you know, that's nice. That's human nature to want to be liked, to want to be thought well of. Having said that, sex is one of those things where people are embarrassed about it, and maybe you don't want the neighbors to know, but you want to be. You want to keep your relationship solvent because there have been straight women who married gay men and married them for like 50 years, right? Never had kids, never understood it. But there's also been men who married women with kids who they knew were not their kids and just, you know what I mean? So this is one of those things where people don't like to talk about it and people, you know, kind of explain it as they explain it. And this strikes me as one of those times where something happened in their relationship. And like I said, he was like, you know, guys are like, man, we don't need to talk about this. And his people, millionaire guy himself, his agent and publicist and all the other people and his cool friends, like, don't just ignore it. It'll go away. In 6 months, somebody in Hollywood will do something else ridiculous and people will forget about this. Just don't acknowledge it. But I think sometimes, you know, you go where your woman is. I think she felt she needed to defend her name because wasn't that Ainsley guy talking smoke now for about a week?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to eventually say something.
He told the truth. He told the truth. He said,
yeah, exactly.
He had a relationship.
You look bad, so you have to say nobody lied.
What's the name? Jada Pinkett Smith. He said he had a relationship with
no one said he lied, but she still has to take control of the narrative, right? It's like how the Prince of England with his Jeffrey Epstein association tried to take control of the narrative by giving that a disastrous BBC interview where he's like, oh, I don't hug anybody. I'm a royal and I don't like to touch people. And that picture was manipulated and all this.
What I thought was funny in the interview was towards the end, he said, okay, and she used the word entangled. She was entangled in a relationship with this guy. Okay.
How does that even happen?
But the best
part
how
you get entangled in a relationship?
The best part of it
was around each other.
The best part of it was when he said to her, yeah, I'm gonna have to get you back. He said, I'm gonna have to get you back. And she said, I think
that's him not wanting to be there. I knew it.
She said,
I don't want to go back into Facebook. I want to see this so bad.
She said, well, I sent it to you with more than enough time, and you was talking about, because number one, when stuff is on YouTube, if it's not licensed to be on YouTube,
I know.
It's getting yanked.
I had family over. It's rare that I see family, and he spent like 4 hours with me.
Yeah, you should have scraped it. You should have scraped it right off of YouTube. That's what I usually do sometimes. Like when something is up there, I'm like, well, wait a minute.
It off of YouTube. I was like, oh, I'll watch this later. And then when I went back to it, was gone.
Yeah.
It was good.
He said, I'm gonna get you back. She replied, "You ready for this?" And I
Yeah.
was laughing for this part. She was like, "I think you already have."
This sounds like a divorce is coming.
She said, and then they dapped each other up, and they said, "Yo, 25 years in, bad marriage." They said, "Yo, for life." They dapped each other up, and the show went off.
But this is the ebb and flow of it, right?
I guess
this is the ebb and flow of it. What will happen now is they'll be pissed off at each other. Hopefully, I mean, I'm a fan of marriage.
Wait, hold. The one important thing was, he said, at the time that this all happened, they were separated.
I'm about to say, how long ago was this?
It's like 4 or 5 years ago. He said at the time they were
4 or 5
separated.
years ago.
They were separated.
Right. And they fixed a whole lot of stuff. And now you're just telling me something that you did, but just, man,
Yeah,
it is complicated. No guy wants to be burnt like this.
No one wants to be put out on Front Street.
The best way to get back at a guy is to burn him about a new guy, right? It's worse than having to fight with a guy, right? But
I think this much. I think
go ahead.
He got put out on Front Street.
Exactly.
He looked
someone who's close to him.
He looked bad. When I say he looked bad, he just looked like, are we really doing this? He had that look on his face. Number one.
Man,
number
I'm
two,
pretty sure I'm right about him not wanting to be there. And he's like, I'm your husband. I'll be there for you. And then he got himself into this hot mess. And he was like, yeah, I'll get you back.
It's number two was, lost my train of thought. So he didn't want to be there. And then, if you flipped it, he would be getting murdered on social media. If he went out
cheated on Jada. What kind of piece of crap?
No. We're looking at, okay, the cheating on someone is one thing, but if you were doing, basically, she took advantage of this guy.
Well, yeah, exactly.
She took advantage of him.
If the place was fair, Johnny Depp would be getting a fair deal right now, and he's not.
But I'm saying, if he had a mental illness and physical illness and was looking to be helped and needed to talk with them, and then
and instead of helping, you had her put her mouth upon your member, your ass would be talking to judges right now. I agree with you. No one's this.
No, I mean, all of that gets thrown out the
when women run amok. It really
all of that gets thrown out the window.
Oddly enough, what's the woman's name who dated that boy who died? She died of cancer this week, and she was his teacher. And then she ended up having married.
Yes, I remember that.
She ended up having 2 kids with him.
Yes,
and she died this week. Yeah. So, if that was me being a teacher and having 2 kids with a student, I would still be in jail.
She was 34 and he was 14.
He was exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
14. Yeah, but she died this week of cancer.
Right.
So, God rest her soul.
I don't know.
But the idea that if I had done that same thing, if I was a teacher and had 2 kids with, first of all, they let her out of jail, and then they rearrested her because she was found in a car with him at 1 a.m, and he was 16, right? And they're like, oh, not only did you violate, you got caught dirty, with your drying your panties in the back seat. Excuse me, with all this stuff in the back seat going on. You're obviously a pedophile, and we caught you red-handed. If that was you or I, we would still be in jail. We would still be there. Still there.
No, probably be under it.
Going back to our original conversation about criminal justice reform,
probably be under it.
I'm either saying that the sentences men get for this are too long, or the sentences women get for this are too short, and I'll let you figure out which one is right. If I can get 40 years for this, why is she getting 5 for the same thing? So I
don't know. Dude,
the place is corrupt, and it's for the people who can activate the law for their will, at will, and that's the problem. And we're coming to a head on it.
Coronavirus is exploding in the southern states.
Yeah, not all of them. Virginia, we doing all right. Woo.
And West Virginia right now is starting to get a little hot.
All right, but West Virginia is not Virginia.
But it's getting closer.
Stay your ass in West Virginia.
It's getting closer. And the question I say is, where is the national plan? There is no national plan. Period. There is no national plan. True. What do you mean? This guy doesn't even wear a mask.
Just because he doesn't wear a mask.
He talks it down. There is no national plan. He says, open up, open your states up. He bullies those Republican governors. They are tied, their political futures are tied to him. So what do? They opened up. Now, all of these states, well, a bunch of these states from Texas to Florida to Arizona to, of course, California's on fire. It's like 5 or 6 states that are just, I think they said in Florida, it's at 1,237% higher.
Yes, yeah, those numbers are climbing. But come on, let's be clear. You had a couple of 100,000 people go to parties and clubs and
because their states were opened up
and all sorts of nonsense, which I get.
Opened up.
I totally get.
No, you don't get it. You don't.
Yeah, I do. I totally get it. Young people are supposed to be, counterintuitive and crazy, but. Man, is this bad? I don't think it's going to happen again, though, because I think people are like, this can't be bad. I'm young, and I'm that young woman. I mean, every time I turn to my TV, somebody 80 is dying, but also a lot of people who are like 32 and 35.
Yes,
I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens when everybody think that government lies to them regularly. Why should I trust you now?
It's ugly. It's ugly. Yeah. It's exploding, and the states that have it, quote unquote, under control, it's going to come back up the northeast.
What did I read? 34 states, right, have rising coronavirus issues. That's like 14. Well, my math is bad. Like the 14, 16 states who are sort of holding steady.
Right.
That's not good.
No, that's not good.
That's not good.
And you can say. All these local governors could say, "Oh, hey, you got to quarantine if you live in this state or that state or that state." They don't have to listen.
You can't drive into our state. That is a wild. That sounds like Europe, where they have border checks.
No one is.
You can't drive into New York from Connecticut if you have a.
No one is policing.
Yeah, I think I have to reassess. I think I would have to agree with you that there is no national plan. After I'm sitting here listening to myself rant about it. I would have to agree that there is no national plan, and it's sort of, I don't want to say every man for himself, but man,
you get a hand clap.
I would applaud you. You're absolutely right.
You checked yourself. You checked yourself right at the door because you were about to say, "I'm going to go all the way in."
Solo stuff. So yeah, I would have.
That's
to agree
the problem.
with that.
You got 50 states doing solo stuff.
Yeah, there's no national coordination.
No. So it's like the numbers. I don't know. I think I sent out the numbers today in our group, and the numbers alone in our group were, hang on,
like 1,500. No, 600 one day and 600 the next, and it was like before that, the previous 2 days before that, it was like 311.
Yeah, it's just the overall.
Yeah, I read them. Yeah.
So it's to a point where the positive test rate.
I went back to school now get 2 of the hardest degrees to get. Well, 1 of the hardest degrees to get, a statistician's degree, because man, you need it now.
Positive test rate, the newly reported tests. I mean, yes, the tests are happening, and that's great.
Yeah.
But it's still not enough.
Here's my problem. A lot of people are going to have a bad time with it. I lost my uncle over it. We have a friend in the chat who had it, and it was bad for him, and he's fine now. But I'm telling you, I really do think if the numbers keep climbing and people naturally pass away from this, you increase the number of people who pass away from this just by the percentage of numbers climbing. With my hands. You know what I'm saying? That don't need to die. So if you kept it here and this many people, this many people died, that'd be messed up, that'd be fine. But if you let it run rampant and it gets to here, and then this many people pass away who didn't need to, or this, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't need to run crazy through this country. And I think they're all being super political. And I think, that when they'll take it seriously, when somebody they know get it. So like, they started taking AIDS seriously when Rock Hudson got it. You know why?
Right.
Because Rock Hudson was a movie star, like the president Ronald Reagan was a movie star, and they had gone to parties together. And I'm sure while they were sitting there, he was like, Nancy, can't believe Rock Hudson. We always it was a little funny, Nancy, but now he's dying. Maybe I should take it, and that's what's gonna happen. So maybe Trump will be sitting up there, and then Jared Kushner will get it and die. And then he'll be like, well, maybe we should take it seriously. Do you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Maybe someone close to the president will get it, and then he'll take it seriously.
Right. And right now, as you know, everything's politicized.
Yeah.
The fact that people can't even put on a mask is another thing.
People are stupid.
Now the big discussion is about, kids returning to school. And you got people
like my kid.
Just send them to school. And
I wouldn't send my kids.
Discussion currently going on in my household is whether or not
send my kid.
Send our daughter.
Am I saying that out loud that I wouldn't send my kid? I don't want to say that out loud to influence anybody that I wouldn't send my kid because I don't have any kids. But if I had any kids, I wouldn't send them. I wouldn't send my kids. I mean, at this point, you know what you're doing with your children? You are making them an infantry army to march into something that you don't know about, right? So let all the wild and adventurous parents send their kids in, and after 3 months, it's 3 months, right? How long is a cycle in school? September, October, November, November, December. Wait, yeah, it's 3 months because you're out. You have the summer off, so it's every 3 months is a semester. So after the first semester, you check the numbers and go, oh, okay, so my kid will go to school in January since it looks like everybody's keeping it down. But then you keep an eye on it because once that happens, other kids will influx as well. But yeah, you don't be the first, be second or third, but don't be the first and keep an eye on it. And people don't keep an eye on it at all. And these are your children. My first thing about this thing that I thought was great was people were losing their mind about what to do with their own kids. So I was like,
that's silly.
This is the oldest shit in the. I'm sorry. This is the oldest thing in the world.
Go ahead. It's
okay.
Fully blown.
it was fluid an hour ago. This is the oldest thing in the world that you should be doing with your children.
And I was trying to tell you at the 13-minute mark, and then I'm sitting here tussling with
but
you.
You can go back to the 13-minute mark.
But I have something to say. But wait, I'm not finished.
This is what you do. Slide in there. You throw a quack sound effect over it, and then the rest of them, I'm on point and I'm on curse and I'm sorry.
You've already did it 4 times. I'm not even looking through the. I'm not gonna.
I thought that was my second time.
No,
man.
No, but
I'm gonna get up cursing.
No, you don't have to. I'm just. What
so? What I try to do as a discipline because I do it and I don't realize that I'm doing it. What I try as a discipline, I just give it up for a while.
What I try to do is I try to cheat because I take the streams, they're posted, and then what I try to do is strip the audio and make it also an audio podcast.
Right.
That way you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So to the audio network that I deal with, I send that out.
Yeah, but you might want
to. Might want to what?
Oh, well. Are you editing this?
No.
All right, fine. Never mind.
No.
I got nothing to say. I'll send it in the group chat because I had a question, but it's.
Oh, go ahead.
It's a little too personal for. No, it's a little too personal for the group audio for the international audio. No. No.
Dude, go ahead.
No.
All right.
Every time you say go ahead, I'm gonna say no.
So lastly, that's it's an issue everyone is struggling with, what to do with the kids. My kids are
ridiculous.
Heading off to school, and I'm looking at her, and she's just like, "Yeah, I'm really excited about this." And I'm like, the one thing, and it's funny when you deal with different generations because you say things like, are you watching TV or are you reading anything? Do you see what's going on out there? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Where do you get your news from? From Snapchat or Twitter?
Yeah, my high school friends.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, forget it. I don't even want to have.
Do you remember the time you got interested in the news? You remember when that was?
Yeah, it was early on.
Because I've always been interested in the news. It's a weird
early
thing.
on. It was early on.
I remember watching McNeil Lair.
McNeil Lair Report, yes.
You know why I got into it, and I thought about this my whole life, and I was like, that must be the reason why. This is my thing about why I love politics and talking to people about like things, in my opinion, that matter. And even though you may think it's ridiculous. So when I was a kid, my sister Lisa sat me down in front of like, PBS in New York, WNET. And I would sit there and I'd watch TV, and then eventually the cartoons and Sesame Street and the Electric Company and Zoom would go off, right? Maybe Zoom wasn't on the air by then, but it would go off, and then McNeil Lair would come on, which years later I realized, oh, that meant it was the end of the broadcast for children. So that must have been about like this time of the day, right? So, but I didn't know how to turn the television set. I was a little kid, and I remember after that, I wasn't allowed to touch a TV because I was a little kid. So it would come on, and I would just sit there and watch it. I didn't know what they were watching. It was a black background. It was this weird, kind of like artsy, like profile head spinning around. And it came on so often that I was like, what? First time I remember thinking, what is this? And the second time I remember going, I remember what this is. And I watched it and never knew what they were talking about. And then Sesame Street taught me how to read, and I knew McNeil Lair.
Zoom.
But it's funny because
it's funny that when we say Zoom, people think of Zoom,
the app.
Yeah, and we're like, no, Zoom, the electric company.
Zoom. It was in Boston.
Those type of shows. Magic Garden.
It was like 02134. I think that was the error code.
It was like the zip code.
I mean, back when zip code. Back when PBS was a thing of beauty. I've been looking for a PBS show. Maybe one of your listeners can help me. It was this show about this anchor who was a medieval anchor, and he would report to you on stuff like Charlemagne did, as if it was present day. And then they would interrupt it with commercials, and they would sell you like whatever women would buy today, like. Yeah, it was on PBS, and so there would be a commercial in where a woman is selling you like linens from like Asia, right, or like a lute. It'd be something wild that somebody from the 1500s, if they had a TV set, would watch. And I watched it all the time, and this was about maybe 1981 to maybe 83, and I cannot find the name of this show. So if anyone in your audience knows what this show is, please, 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 please reach out and leave it in the comments, and I will be forever grateful. But yeah, it's just, it's the art of I guess I like information. And the more interesting way you can give me information, the more I love you for it. I used to love documentaries, and they were boring and sad and dry. They were essentially crackers, just like dry, salting crackers. But then all of a sudden, Ken Burns made documentaries, this whole different animal. There was like this feast of knowledge to like just kind of like savor every morsel of information on. So now, and that's my thing. I don't think anybody cares about innovating anything anymore, but he innovated information. And people should want to do that.
Best PBS show on the air, Frontline. Hands down.
I would agree with that.
Best show.
I think it's hard. I think they've got a lot of winners. I would put it in the class of like the top 3, and then the second tier, like bronze 3, silver 3, and then the third tier, bronze 3. Like Frontline, Nature, which I've been watching since I was a kid. I couldn't leave out Nature. And they have a new show called not Voices of the Dead. What is it? where they talk about like if they find a mummy or skeleton, they tell you all the history. They talk about but yeah, it's like PBS it should be funded. It's just a genius of a thing.
And I will say this much: I'm really upset that this show is no longer no longer licensed. Well, really, 2 shows no longer licensed, and it was due to Me Too. Charlie Rose show was a great show, and Tavis Smiley show was a great show. Yeah, Tavis Smiley
3 shows,
half an hour
because of I'm about to say Gordon Peeler. Good Lord, home companion. I forget the name. Garrison Keillor. His show was good, and they found out that was kind of like more. I don't want to say nonsense because I was, but more not than was. And let's say that it was more not than was. So
I personally liked Tavis Smiley because
I did like him.
He's African American. I loved when
I'm one of those.
I love when he was on NPR.
Right.
NPR radio.
Right.
Excuse me. NPR radio. National Public. When he used to be on NPR, and he was only on it for like a 3-year run. But like I liked what he did and it was a combo of things where you look at his half an hour nightly show that was in Los Angeles, his weekend radio show, and then, writing books and doing tours and having your own.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is going to be a double podcast, we're going to throw it up on both. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, knowing what you know about what's going on now, right now, right? And the Karens and the cancel culture, do you think he still would have been canceled if he got canceled today?
Who? Tavis Smiley?
Because he was accused by women, right? And there are a lack of black voices to be heard, and
he had to pay $1.5 million to PBS.
Why?
They were both suing each other.
All right,
and it was found.
So why did he have to pay and not them?
Because they countersued him, and that it was
But just because you countersue doesn't mean you don't get to own it.
Morality clause.
As long as he got to walk with all his rightful own stuff.
But still,
you know what I'm saying?
Morality clause.
Look, I think they built a structure where any woman can point their finger at any guy, right? And someone pointed this out to me.
No, hold on.
I don't want to lose what I'm saying because people think I'm an asshole because I said something inflammatory and then you cut me off.
Well,
and I'm gonna forget what I said. And they're just gonna go,
you. I want to make sure you don't hurt yourself or break your ankles.
No. I'm going to run it, and you cut me off.
There was a morality clause. So morality, they got you. They got you from you sign a clause like that, meaning you need to be on the straight and narrow.
The new slavery is contracts. I mean, that singer who couldn't sing any songs because it was written weirdly in this place. Prince couldn't use his name because it was written weirdly in a contract. All these weird things that you should not be allowed to put in a fucking contract are always put in contracts, right? There are millionaire lawyers now who never sang a song but wrote in because some teenager didn't know and they got to get paid forever or own their rights or all this stuff that back then when judges were just horrible, criminal justice reform, remember? Horrible. Let like all the money and the power of these contracts go to white men who eventually sold it to like Time Warner Life, who now sells you all on 13 DVDs, every single song ever made in the world by every poor kid from every ghetto, whether it's in the Bronx or it's in Kentucky or it's in the fucking, mining belt of Pennsylvania. It all ends up in their hands. So you better watch it. So yeah. You're quiet over there. You all right? Okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Right? Because when I interject, you like, wait. I'm not finished. And I'm like, okay.
Look, man.
I'm gonna just hang back.
You do not want to lose this place so rich boys can be richer. You know what I'm saying? We need education for all of us. We need the promise of like those kids who want to come from, like I just said, the Appalachians, who want to be architects and
So
musicians.
our
But
next
at this point, they're
conversation,
just selling us influencers and nonsense. So
our next
watch yourself.
conversation, I'm going to do my research on the public versus private for you, and bring to you points on why you were incorrect with your analogy.
What's the movie? My logic is undeniable.
Your analogy was incorrect when
Okay.
I'm sitting here trying to explain, but I'm gonna do my research
Okay.
and say day night. It's like what did Samuel Jackson say in the Avengers? Oh man, he was
motherfucker. He says that in every movie.
It was like boot ant. And yeah, but let's go to a topic that we won't disagree on because
no, absolutely not.
You
But have we been disagreeing?
Yeah, we agreed to disagree. The topics that wasn't even listed. I told you, I was like, nah, I don't agree with you with the education. I mean, there's ways around it. You can be smart with it, or you can have $130,000 worth of loans and not know what you're doing, and you have some degree in basket weaving.
But you know, here's the thing: people don't go to those colleges for degrees, man. They go to colleges to meet people and make connections and get married.
Right. And when you have it, and then you're sitting there, and you snookered your parents into paying for the loan or whatever like that, and then they're looking at you crazy because you're sitting in their house.
Right.
You know, and you're just like looking at them like, hey, I got to pay $700
with your art degree.
Right. You know,
Yale art degree. All right, now I got you. Right.
You know,
not to disrespect anybody with a Yale art degree. I have nothing but respect for you. Seriously.
So what are you cooking during the pandemic?
That's a good question. Wow. So I've been doing a lot of pasta, which is a problem because pasta makes you fat.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to do rice. Rice is also starch. Starch makes you fat. I used to run a fair amount, and now I don't run a fair amount because running with a mask on is ridiculous, and everybody's at the park, so it's not like you're not going to run it past people. So coronavirus will make you dead, so I don't run anymore. So I need a whole batch of like new recipes that don't make you fat. And if it's got almost 0 calories that I can make a ton of it on, you know what I mean? All the better. I do a lot of roast chicken and potatoes, but I don't really have a good recipe. I mean, geez, if any of your followers know of a good pandemic recipe, now's the time to share it.
Wait,
don't save your grandma's recipe for X, Y, or Z.
Do you do the air fryer stuff?
Now's the time to share it. What'd you say?
Do you do the air fryer stuff?
No, I don't have an air fryer. I like the old-fashioned cast iron pan, grill, soak it. The only thing I don't do, my mama used to bake fried chicken, fried chicken in like a paper bag with flour and shake it, and every now and then the paper bag would rip and a wing would go flying across the room. You know what I mean? So now I don't have that problem because I do it with a Ziploc plastic freezer bag, and those never rip. But yeah, and every now and then when I fry fried chicken, I think of mama and a wing flying across the kitchen, covered in.
I've been making a
lot. She's picking up from, you know how mom, you know, because we were poor black people back. So yeah,
making a lot of fish.
I'm not good at fish. I don't think I've ever cooked a fish dish.
I've grilled a whole bunch.
Nice.
So one of the things I purchased just prior to the pandemic was an air fryer. So I got an air fryer, but I got one that was like 5 quarts, which gave you a little something. So then I gave that one away, and then I got a 10-quart one. So that you can basically cook whatever you want to cook in there.
Right.
You can take a rotisserie chicken in there, and
which is amazing because more people like chicken is the most popular dish. More people should cook, and the roast chicken is the easiest thing in the world. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that'll be my next. But here's my thing about my cooking channel. I want to cook the whole thing from start to finish. I don't want to have any cuts in it, and you can't do that with a roast chicken. But roast chicken, if you cut into pieces, season it well, put it on 345 for I want to say 40 minutes. It depends because some people put them on lower temperature. Some people on 425. 325 for like an hour and 425 for like 30 minutes. So you've got all this wide range of muckery to, you know what I mean? But now I think now's the time for people to start cooking again. I've always been a better cook than most of the women I've dated.
Most of the places that were out, most of the places weren't in business during the pandemic. Because when
a lot of these places are going under. I haven't, like I told you earlier, I haven't had Chinese food in 6 months, so I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys are like, oh,
So in New York, we're like about to head into phase 4. We're still in phase 3, I believe.
What happened to phase 2 and 3? What did they change from phase 1 to phase 2, from phase 2 to phase 3? What was different each phase? Do you even know?
The different industries that were opening up, like a lot of stuff downtown is still not open. Downtown wasn't open. Some of Midtown was open. The construction workers were phase 2. It was like it really depended on the industry, like phase 1 type stuff. I mean, the great thing is the state of New York on the website, it gave the full breakdown. Like if you were in central New York, stuff like in those type of locations, they were opening up much earlier.
But there's less people there because there's 10 million people in New York versus
it's 20 million total in the state.
Right. And half of those are in New York City proper.
Right.
Right. So in the environs outside of New York City proper, if you know those old classic terms of environs and proper, you get farms and horses and you get less density, I guess. So in New York City proper, me to my next New York City person is quote unquote 2 feet, right? Versus me to my next New York State person, if I live in Westchester County, might be every 20 feet. So there's some natural distancing going on in this state.
Density issues. It was just funny because when you look at Nassau and Suffolk, you look at the numbers with Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester, and you would be like, oh my goodness, on the amount of infections, on the amount of deaths. It was like Nassau County, you had 2,000 deaths. Suffolk County, you have 2,000 deaths. You had 40,000 infections each location. Westchester, you might have had like 1,600 deaths. So you look at those 3 areas, those 3 counties right there, and then you lead into the 5 boroughs. That was your large number right there, because when you look at Brooklyn and Queens, because I mean, from living in
Brooklyn is the most the most full borough, if I remember correctly, from of black folk, and black folk are heavily hit by this disease, right? So Brooklyn would be the
and brown
center of the black
black and brown
coronavirus kind of
Corona Queens,
right?
Hispanic is like 68% Hispanic. Corona.
Right. I remember Corona Queens. Right.
You know, it's like depending on the specific area, you can tell who's getting hit, who's getting hammered. One of our friends lives out in Islip. Islip alone, you pull it up on the map. Islip alone had 8,000 cases.
Oh. 8,000 people around countless how many people they know. If each one person is around 5 people, 8,000 people instantly becomes 40,000 people. This is what I don't understand about why people aren't taking this seriously. It's so virulent. It's just it's the worst thing. It's like, you know, the ridiculous portion of this is that if this was junior high school and a kissing disease ran through the neighborhood, remember, because we had that, not when I was in junior high school, but like people got what is that thing when you kiss when you get a wart, and they had to send letters home to people.
Herpes.
And when you're in like
herpes,
not elementary school, you get lice right before you even. So like every now and then they send a letter home going, "Hey, we got lice going through the school. Everybody check your kids because the kids hang out with each other, and the kids will get lice." Right. And then by the time you're, you know, in junior high school and you're kissing boys and you're kissing girls and you're doing all this stuff, and they're like, hey, you know, there's a kissing disease, everybody's got it. We turn over the parents, don't let your kids kiss people, and blah, blah, blah. And then same thing happens when you go to college. Hey, every now and then you got to get like an injection of this or a scratch of that, because people are people and we're always interacting and connecting and being around each other. And this in the lightest way possible to be around each other, not even physically connecting like sex or hugs or socially connecting, like how you doing. You just can pass by somebody, right? It's a passive kind of, and that's the thing. And people are like, I'm American, I want a gun and I don't need to wear a mask. And I'm like, you know, I'm an American and you're a problem for me. And I like guns too. And let's fucking solve this issue. It's because, yeah, it's people, the amount of stupid that America pushes into the society so the elites can maintain power has gotten to a critical level. It really has. I think not the first cue, but one of the first cues, maybe the first cue was that shootout with like the Klan where all those like liberals died. But definitely the second cue, like 20 years later, was like that dude blowing up like the federal building, and he was an ex like soldier, right? So now you have, you know, people covered in tattoos who never had a day of service in the military in their life telling you how America is only for like one group of people. And then you look back into them and their families showed up here like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, in the 1960s. And you're like, you're not even from like the not Mayflower, the what's the place on you came through Ellis Island? You're not even on Ellis Island, right? My dad looked up our history. We go back to a slave ship, right? It's an amazing what America has become, where people can show up here and then take part in racist behavior and not be asked to leave. It really is just an amazing mess of how what's the biblical equivalent? Tower of Babylon, where all of a sudden no one speaks the same language, no one gets each other, and everybody scatters to the wind. And that's what's going to happen here. When you scatter to the wind here, nobody's going back to Pakistan or, you know, people are going to fight it out. This place is just going to be exactly what, you know, the enemies of America wanted to be, to prove that different groups of people will always be disparate groups of people, meaning they're all, no matter how we are, we're always lumped up in our own category, and we're never actually really one group of Americans doing this thing. And that's the sad thing about it.
So my next question is, was it necessary for the cancel culture to come for Goya today? The president of Goya, or the CEO of Goya, was praising.
Was it necessary?
President
about
Trump.
that. Was it necessary?
He was praising President Trump today. Now, before you get started, this same gentleman was there for the Obamas. He showed up to support the Obamas. So it's, I guess for him, it's about, I don't know. It's for him, it's ensuring that all the check boxes are checked off. I mean, any way you look at it is like, hey, I get to speak with whomever is the sitting president, so I'm going to sit there and praise them. And I guess he was at the Obama's
He's a big
event,
man, and it's always good to have that's next to the sitting president of the United States. I totally get it.
But that's what they're supposed to do as CEOs. Go there and sit there and meet with the president and talk about whatever is the hot topic at the time. Next thing you know, on social media, you start to see, cancel Goya and prominent celebrities.
First of all, I'm not canceling Goya. Where else am I going to get my bean connection from?
I don't know. I mean,
my chili would be a joke.
You're adobo. You're adobo.
Ooh.
It's all Goya.
Yeah, I might put some adobo sauce.
That's all Goya. I'm just like, I think this is less about Goya and more about the culture. And when I say culture, the cancel culture. Number one, I'm not listening to someone on social media that's telling me to cancel whomever without me doing my own research.
Where's the cancel culture headquarters? And where's their publicist telling me why I need to cancel? Who are these anonymous? You know what they remind me of? They remind me of the Klan. There's anonymous group of people who rise into town.
Nah, I wouldn't say the Ku Klux Klan. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
So hear me out. So the idea is the same. It's the idea that you don't know who anybody is, and they show up all of a sudden en masse to get a mob rule on somebody, right? So what's the famous case where there was a guy in a jail and the Klan rolled up with 300 people, and the sheriff and his 10 deputies was like, "Ooh, whoa, okay."
I disagree.
The black guy, and they took him out and they killed him, right? And that's what this is. It is the same thing. You don't know who these cancel people. Okay.
No, we don't. We don't know who they are.
You don't know who they are. And remember, they tried to cancel Kanye West like 10 times. And every time, back when I was on Facebook, and we were like, "Oh, Kanye West," man, I was like, "You want to cancel Kanye West before you cancel all these rappers talking about guns and drugs and bitches and whores and twerking? Are you serious?" And back then, I realized those people were Karens now. You may not like Kanye West, but cancel him, whatever. And this was back then. So now you have this whole different energy of I need to prove. And who are these people, by the way? Which I said already. I need someone to go away to make me and my contingent feel better. Who are you and your contingent? Because eventually they will come for me because I talk loose all the time.
You talk extremely loose.
If I got any looser,
extremely loose. You talk. I mean, what's scary is how loose that you talk. That
I'm good with my God, man. So yeah.
No, you can be, but I think
I'm respected. I'm very loose.
You have a lot of good ideas and great points, but you kind of roll with it very, very loose.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get elected to anything. That's the problem. I don't want to be a next congressman.
It's not about you getting elected, but comparing the cancel culture to the Ku Klux Klan. Come on, stop.
Yeah, no, the absolute. Listen, the idea of it is the same thing. You don't know who these people are. I used to when I lived in New York, I did a lot of Occupy Wall Street stuff, and then one day I wanted to write a letter, not a letter, an email, and I looked up Occupy Wall Street. and I couldn't find a headquarters. I couldn't find a head guy. I couldn't find a head publicist.
So why are you following something
and I was like,
that you didn't do your homework? How are you following something that you didn't do your homework with?
First of all, that's not the way organic things work, right? Organic things are things of I don't want to say spiritual, but are things of sort of this visceral, emotional grab, especially that hits you in the right place. You know that the cops have been getting away with murder. And I'm saying that as an ex-cop. And I'm saying that figuratively and literally, that they've been getting away with murder. That's me more talking loose now, right? Having said that, that does not mean that, you should not, I guess, struggle against the beast, quite frankly, right? The idea that America falls into what I always have Fallujah in the back of my mind. Every time I hear, like, I always like, before Fallujah happened, I was like, why do people always want to like sing songs of like another civil war? That seemed like a bad time, because I remember reading some of those things, and then like 20 years later seeing the Ken Burns thing, and then I think people get that whole incident wrong. Before this, I was enamored, quote unquote, maybe a better word, maybe enthralled or kind of like just obsessed with like the founding of the country, the revolutionaries, right? Mm-hmm. Like George Washington have to like shoot a couple of dudes that we don't like to talk about, and like how he pulled this trick, and how these guys who were essentially elite. I mean, George Washington was super rich. He wasn't some poor general, something, he was super rich, and he owned like 500 slaves. But they managed to get all these people to kick the ass of the biggest place in the world at the time. And I always remember that, because now we're the biggest dog, just like England was then. And I always look around whenever we get into conflict, who would be the most unlikely Mike Tyson knocking out who's the guy that Mike Tyson knocked out to become the youngest heavyweight champion in the world?
Michael Spinks?
No.
Before Michael Spinks, Trevor Berbick?
This is gonna was it I think it was Trevor Berbick. Was it Trevor Berbick? I think it was Trevor Berbick.
Could have been.
But the idea that people like it's every now and then these wild things happen and people don't account for them. The last wild thing was Donald Trump winning the presidential election. No presidential experience, no political experience. Hillary Clinton, who's been around politics forever, married to a very popular ex-president, facing 4 years of a very unpopular opposition president. And then you get this weird kind of, I think America made a mistake as well as did the right thing. I think making Donald Trump president was the right thing to do, right? It shows that the American people have their own mind and will go against the orthodoxy. But the American people are up their own ass with their love of celebrity people, right? So maybe it shouldn't have been Donald Trump. Maybe it should have been a local teacher from your neighborhood or my neighborhood or the listener's neighborhood. Maybe it should have been a local low-level lawyer, because the place is full of lawyers. Once they get high level, no. Maybe it should have been a librarian. Maybe it should have been a ex-cop or a beat cop who got hurt and retired. And you know what I'm saying? Versus all these people who are like, hey, I got 9 houses and I know exactly what you need. And what they want to do is they want to get rid of guns, and they want to get rid of like this idea that the American people have some say. So you better watch, because those are the 2 big ones. That, and they already gotten rid of your right to say anything. Actually, no, they didn't, because
I will say this: the cancel culture.
You have YouTube, but they're trying to get rid of YouTube. They're trying to, like, the SEC is trying to shut down YouTube freedom. Not YouTube freedom, internet freedom. But there's always this kind of like perpetual kind of like,
the way I see
cancel between us.
The way I see cancel culture is kind of like, it's 2:30 in the morning and you see a bunch of bots, and whatever whether they're Russian bots, whether they're bots that whomever paid for them, they're out there and they're pumping out a message. Because, like you said, that message could be you or me next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, cancel culture is, if for the most part it's a virtual group that's just out there. I don't know. I just see I don't put a lot into it. The cancel culture is out there. Yes, cancel this one. Do this. If this, like, if they caught you red-handed, if they caught you red-handed,
I don't cancel any of them because I don't. I want to know who's telling me to cancel who. So once I hear cancel culture, I instantly think you're an idiot for canceling anybody. But if you cancel Bill Cosby for inappropriate behavior with women and send him to jail, I get that. If you cancel R. Kelly for inappropriate behavior with women, I get that. If you cancel,
if you've done something,
Weinstein. If you cancel Anthony Weiner, I get that. But if I did something in high school before I was fully me, you know what I'm saying? And you say some wildness that you can't prove that I did, and you want to stop me from what seems to be a fairly good career as a judicial person. I'm thinking about Brett Kavanaugh here. I have issues with that. And I don't like Brett Kavanaugh. But the idea like, we can lie and disgrace his name to get our way, I have a problem with that because I really do think, back when I was 20, I was like, you know what? In every prison, there's got to be like 10 innocent people. Now I think in every prison, there's got to be like half that bitch is innocent people. You know, corrupt cops and all this kind of wild nonsense by you know, prosecutors and lazy judges. So why? And we're getting to the point where if people don't have any, black people especially, don't have any faith in, and mind you, we're 60 million people, don't have any faith in American democracy, why does anybody listen to any of it? You know, and when you come for me, why wouldn't I shoot it out with you? And when you roll up to shoot it out with me, why wouldn't other people open up on you after you shoot it? You know, you can make this place a hot, excuse my language, shit show almost like overnight. You got to fix. It's not the 1700s anymore. You're not, you know, you got to fix this. There shouldn't be 20-year-old white racists in America anymore. You know what I mean? So they have to fix it.
The CEO of Goya doubled down on what he said. He said Trump is a good president, and I stick behind him. And not to say right or wrong, but if you didn't do anything that requires you to get canceled, then
that's not the way it works.
Then you should stick up for yourself. You really think?
Absolutely.
Do you really think people are going to cancel Goya? Come on.
No.
Okay.
No. But I think this is the people building power. Every now and then it works, and then they get to take credit for it, and that's what you don't want. You know, that's what you don't want.
Here's our last topic. Here's our last topic of the evening, and it's a barn burner. When is Black Lives Matter entering into rap and hip hop music?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, if we're all about making a better day for Black people, and I mean, let's remember what hip hop was when it got started, right? So hip hop was, all of us agreed that crack was bad because we saw what happened. So there were songs like "Crack is Whack" and "Stop the Violence" and "Self-Destruction." Right? I know, but that was back.
You gotta run it back to the Bronx. Run it back to the Bronx.
Right. So and like not Public Enemy wasn't the first like Black group, right? The first was BDP. Remember them?
No.
Boogie Down Productions.
No. Grandmaster Flash.
No, exactly.
Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5.
Well, yeah. Well, you're going back to the founding father. I'm going back to a mid-level where your listeners can follow us. But if you want to go beyond BDP, back to the original masters, it was The Message, right? Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Right. You know, it's this idea of like people who like just being wild while I'm trying to like get to the next level in this unfair place. So somewhere around the 80s with NWA, hip
Gangster
hop has
rap.
become this.
Gangster
It
rap.
was a niche genre, right? It's much like hip hop. So first it was all rock music and big hair bands and rock and roll, and hip hop was this. Then all of a sudden hip hop became this ever growing thing, and now hip hop is everything. And every other music actually in this country, and maybe not throughout the world, but I know definitely in this country is subservient to hip hop. It really is. Hip hop sells the most uh, music, tracks, downloads. It's hit right.
Hip hop
So
doesn't sell more than Taylor Swift. Come on, stop.
you need to calm yourself down. Is what you
It
need to
sells
do.
more. It sells
You
more
what
than Taylor Swift.
and country music and everything. You need to. What is
It
wrong with
does.
you? Taylor Swift is pop music, yeah, and hip hop has overtaken pop music,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I mean, this place is hot now. I should have turned on the air conditioning. Um, so I lost my train of thought. But look, the early days of hip hop was, like I said, the message. The middle eras of hip hop with Rakim and all that. Still, there was this idea that like the culture, not the music, was against crack, and it drove that down. Not politician and the police. The community drove that down, and we didn't like drug dealers. And while that same thing happened, we also took on apartheid. The first group to be against it and rap about it and spit about it and say about it was inner city black youth before we got
Live Aid and all of that other
uh
stuff.
well, but no,
We
before we got who got on board? Like the black church got on board, like the Sharptons and the right. So all these people got on board, which
Mhm.
were able to bring it to like Congress. So like essentially hip hop freed Mandela, right? He came to New York first, where it started. Hip hop music did that. Somewhere along the 80s, NWA, Ice Cube, um, all the people that made music to make money, right? They sold drugs to do it, and those who had the money, it became this nebulous horror show of what black music was. And now all the music, like I said, all the music since about 1980 has been owned by everybody other than us. So maybe every now and then, you know, Dr. Dre may own his masters. Um, Jay-Z may own his masters,
Mhm.
but for every 10 guys you know who own their masters, there's 100 guys you know who love their songs who don't, because the nature does not do absolutes, right? So
So I
if
need you
you're
to
a
stop for a second.
hundred,
I need you to stop for a
go ahead.
second. So explain if you don't own your masters and your song or your music comes up in a commercial today, who's getting paid from it?
Well, whoever the company that owns your masters gets the music for it. Like what they like to do is if you're a one hit wonder, and there's always one hit wonders,
Mm-hmm.
Time Warner shows up and goes, "Hey, I'll give you $20,000 for that song that you had that one," and you're like, "Yeah, 20,000 is a giant lump sum of money. Why don't I?" But if you had kept it over the 50 years before you left it to your kid, you may have made $150,000, right? And that's the way that they play it. And then on one giant hit record, all your favorite one hit wonders by Time Warner just send us 75, and then so that's the game that you play. If you want to, they're always telling you the short path, and the short path is always the problem. Um, and like I said, this would not be a problem if black people had just done what the original founder of this whole thing told us to do, which is loyalty to each other, because everything beyond that becomes a hot mess of just disloyalty, you know. So this is where we are. I'm getting all wincy. Yeah. So it's it is what it is.
Okay. All right.
I mean, hip hop should not. If black culture is serious and Black Lives Matter, hip hop should not be continually selling you gun and drug cooking and nigger, excuse my language, and bitch. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? If you're serious about the
I wish
message
you
of
hadn't
Black
said
Lives
that.
Matter,
God.
no, but I'm serious. If you're serious about the message of Black Lives Matter, then that can't be your message. You can't. It's like saying like those guys who go and win awards on stage. Go, oh, I'd like to thank the Lord, Jesus Christ, and God for this album that I got called "Shoot Everybody in the Face" and then kill their puppies. You're like, what? What? You know that you're not serious. You're just saying it because this is part of the devil's bargain that you have to say at the award show. But now that people are going, we don't want this behavior in our community. And we all matter. You can't keep making songs that no one matters. Especially no one matters, but actually no one matters but you and your squad. Because me and my boys, you know what I'm saying? But everyone else, fuck them. They don't matter. Shoot them in the face. I got more money. I got more drugs.
So what
I
you're
was in
saying
Hawaii
is
or whatever.
basically murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill.
Yeah, exactly.
It does. Murder, death, kill sells. Today's trap music sells.
Yeah.
People are quick to download something.
But here's the thing: the music in our youth, the lyrics sold. Now the music sells, so the lyrics can be different. A lot of these guys are trash rappers.
Well,
right? Who makes thugs and criminals rich? Who are the people who always in media told you that we were horrible people, and now they're making money on selling you the worst about us? So when God forbid one of us does something stupid.
I don't know if it was Little Baby or Da Baby or who I was listening to.
Probably the Baby. A little bit.
They mentioned, they wrote the entire album in one day, and I'm like, what?
Trash. And that right there. That right there's a hallmark that your album is garbage and it's being produced by actual beat makers.
You sit there and you look at the lyrics on each song, and you're like, oh, I see how they could have sat down, because like you compare like a song that Rakim writes.
This is what happens, Biz. Which these people get famous for whatever hard work they did, and then when they get a little money, they buy lyrics. And they buy beat makers, and then they do that. But a lot of these guys, if I had two of them in a room and gave you 12 hours to write a hot song, and then gave you another 12 hours to put them next to a good, and not to be a global hit, but just a good song, a lot of those guys would not be able to do that.
Well, no, what I'm saying is Rakim, lyricist, where he's going to take you on a ride.
Right. A visual experience.
And it's something where you're going to expect. You're not going to expect what you're getting, with Rakim and what you're getting today. And you're just like, that's how we become our parents. We're like, oh, I don't listen to this music.
Right, exactly. Stop ingesting new music. I agree with that 100%.
You do it.
Stop ingesting new music.
You think of, when was the last, not that people buy CDs anymore, but what was the last
CDs are dead.
But what was the last album that you downloaded?
I haven't downloaded an album yet.
Okay, so what was the last new music
media that I actually experimented in?
Right.
Wow. Wow. That is a good question. It's been a while since I bought a CD, and I normally listen to music through other mediums. But when was the last time I bought a song? I couldn't even tell you. I bought.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I think I bought.
So that says it all.
It came with the song. They came with the CD. Not the CD. It came with the download of the game that I played. So I think I have the download. So I have that of Dark Souls.
Yeah, but it's what I'm talking about is, when was the last time you actually made an effort to say such and such has a new album coming out? Oh, let me
have to see it. Yeah, it's been forever. It's been
10
Forever.
years?
That's never happened.
10
Easily.
years?
Easily.
15 years?
The last time I got crazy about an album was Kanye West
808 and Heartbeats.
College Dropout. I burned that thing for 10 years. Then I burned Eminem's Marshall Mathers album for like a further 5. I burned Alanis Morissette's A Jagged Little Pill for like 5 years. So yeah, I fall into like niches of music in space, and whatever sound like those genres, I'll generally gravitate around while still holding on to like the bedrock of what I was taught, the Ray Charles, So yeah, I don't know. I think I was taught good music, so I think young people might be taught popular music, and not all popular music is good music.
Well, I just to answer this question, I'm just going to say, I hope it's soon, and that they do check the artist for, the loose wordplay that's thrown out there.
Yeah.
I hope they check it for
it's violence driven, it's hate driven, it's gun driven. It's all driven at your own people, which is crazy. If they made the same kind of music about white people, it wouldn't be popular. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's it. So now in this Black Lives Matter moment, are you gonna reassess the lyrics of your music when everybody acknowledges that the beat is what's most important now, sadly, and the lyrics are only good in I wouldn't say a handful, but are only good in maybe 30 popular rappers. Travis Scott is a beast. His music is good and his lyrics are fire. But yeah, some of these guys are just not up to it. And as always, Kanye West is a genius.
Yeah,
he's a genius.
I mean,
I'm not voting for him for president. But actually, that's not true. I will vote for Kanye West before I vote for Joe Biden. So Kanye, I want a Kanye 2020 shirt.
I think 808 Heartbeats was probably some of his best work.
Yes. Are you serious? Yes.
I think it was probably some of his.
He's not a political genius. He's a musical genius, people. He may have some issues. Just love him for his music, but people like to hate stuff, so they like to hate Kanye. But like I said, I'll vote for Kanye before I vote for Joe Biden. But if I'm being serious, I'm not voting for Kanye for anything other than best musician in the last 30 years.
That's a wasted.
God, I love that dude.
To vote for him in a political race. Hey, so we're about to get on out of here. Best way to find you?
Catch me True Armor on Twitter and Truest Armor on YouTube, which is where I hover.
Okay. And I am the real Ted Hicks, and we are out.
Peace.